Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the golden age of Lego. This is part 2 of me covering the years which I consider the golden age of Lego. And because I have to share the screen to do these streams, these are horizontal, not vertical. And we're just going to wait for people to come in and then we'll get into talking. So we're covering the year 1987 today. And 1987 was the first year for a few things, and one of them was the Forestman faction in the castle theme. And the Forestmen are my favorite faction of castle characters. And the camouflaged outpost was the first, which is part of the reason why it's probably my second favorite of the Forestman sets. So we got RC, not sure if RC is still here. It is going to be a good one, because 87 I think is a lot better than 86. We also got Nate Mr. Blue and Alexandria. Okay, so we're going to scroll back to the top. And there's about 200 sets that we're going to try get through within half an hour. So hopefully everyone enjoys it. And also tell me in the comments as we're covering all of this, what years do you think the golden age of Lego is? I've seen some people say 2012 to 2016. I've seen some people say 2016 to 2019. I've seen a couple people say 2008 to 2014. A lot of people say now. So you tell me in the comments, what do you think the golden age of Lego is? Personally, I think it's 86 to 94. And because it's part 2, we're covering the year 1987. So they were getting into some of the 2-for-1 offers at this time. Top of the page have this thing with a cart and a joust set for Castle, because this was about the time. Actually, no, this was the year before they came out with the Black Knights. So it was still the Crusaders and the Black Falcons back then. Never really paid much attention to that idea book. And there's a bunch of basic building sets. The basic building sets are really basic, as they say in their title. They're really basic. I'm more interested in the basic sets that have some of the foliage, like this set 547 got the large pine tree right there. But I'm more so interested in the ones that have the cypress tree. And I think this had to do with whatever the precursor to the Technic Control Center was. No, the Technic Control Center had come out. So I think that set has to do with that somehow. And in the Duplo sets, we were getting these mosaics. I remember going to kindergarten and playing with some of those. They did a couple of them. And they came out with the lights, and I think this was the year they came out with the lights and sound theme. Technology. So they did a lot of tech-related service packs for that stuff. And just a whole bunch of basic sets. They were still doing the shell sets at the time, but I think by 87, they'd gotten away from the stickered torsos, and they printed the shell logo onto their torsos. And also, they were still making really cool houses. This is one of the classic houses. This was a limited release. A lot of the houses at this time were not wide released sets. at all. Like, this house was a promotional set with Weetabix cereal in the UK. In Australia, Aussie kids are Weet-Bix kids, which is slightly different from the British Weetabix. But they were getting into the race cars around 1987 because you had that rally car, you had that pit stopping crew, and there's a set later down here. Also, by this time, they were transitioning out of classic space and branching out into other themes like Futuron, which had upgraded versions of classic space type spacecraft. And they were really getting into the value packs at this time for all different themes, town, space. And there's a lot of there's surprisingly a lot of promotional sets that came out in the 80s. I think that's because Lego was expanding their footprint across the world and companies wanted to partner with them. Fabuland was still around. Never really paid much attention to that board game. And now Lego was starting to partner with some of the airline companies. I've never heard of Britannia Airways. I know of British Airways, but not Britannia Airways. And I never really paid much attention to that Universal building set theme. I think that's an upgraded version of Basic or something. I'm not exactly sure, to be honest. Not exactly sure about that. You know, there was a baby rattle similar to this 10 years after, which got recalled for some reason. But this was still the era of the old Duplo logo. I think they changed that sometime in the mid-90s. But the only Duplo sets I'm interested in have trains in it. Like the train crossing, the 90-degree crossing. I don't know why Lego doesn't make track pieces that aren't crossings anymore. And you know, this Fabuland bus always interested me because of that curved stair at the back there. A lot of these Fabuland sets had curved stairs. I think that's where the stairpiece originated from. And this was a big year for the boats because they had a few different boats at this time, including a really cool cargo ship because there's police, there's fire, and there's the cargo carrier. This is like a souped up version of the freighter boat I owned that came out in 1982. Did a whole bunch of service packs. See what I was talking about with the 4.5 volt technology. That's a key wind up for some of the powered motors. But if I come down here through some of these service packs, that would be a nice piece. I bought some sets on eBay that had that jack, and that jack is really fun to play with. And that twisting siren was to do with the lights and sound system. They made a version for space as well. I think the difference was that the sounds were different. Some people might not know this. This is an old 4.5 volt signal. So there was a trigger on the side of that signal where you would twist it, and it would release that push bar that would raise up, and it would tap, and it would touch a red button on the underside of the old 4.5 volt motors, and it would stop the train in its tracks. Literally. And there's something I want to talk about when I come down here. Yeah, so there's the 4.5 volt motor with the battery box that would have the red button underneath. Now, I want to talk a little bit about this, but I want to see what people in the chat are saying first. See if anyone else has come in. Mikey J has come in. Good to see you here. Yeah, so when I went to elementary school, they had a whole bunch of the system dacta and education sets, and one of them was this long battery box. I didn't know this was a battery box at the time, so I would always build tankers at school with this piece because of its shape. That's just me. That's my little story about that. I don't know why they don't make those lattice gate pieces anymore. I really don't. They need to bring those back. And I also miss this style of the digger buckets because they were smooth. They weren't ratcheted. They're still making that clamshell crane bucket, which is good. But yeah, a lot of service packs in this era, including when they sold base plates that were more varied than what we get now. Had more different designs, and they were really trying to push Technic at the time, because this was only a couple years after they changed it from the Expert Builder to the Technic theme. So there was a lot of service packs to do with Technic pieces at that time, and this is where they established a lot of their joints that would carry over for at least 2 decades before Lego came out with all the ratcheted pieces. And this was a good year for Castle, like I was saying. They had a lot of small sets. It's rumored that they're going to remake this into a gift with Purchase the King's Oarsman, set 6017. But the battering ram was a good one because that included part of the castle wall. And I've already talked about the camouflaged outpost at the start of the stream. Got the nice blend between the rocks and the tree, which I've always liked. And this was probably the biggest fire engine at the time, the Snorkel Squad, set 6358. They did make articulated fire engines before this, but not that big. And this is, in my opinion, the first real minifigure scaled hospital. The one that came out within the early 80s was more like a doctor's office type of build. This is more of what I think of for a Lego hospital, that emergency treatment center. And remember what I was saying, they were getting into race cars? Yeah, well, there's the Motor Speedway, set 6381. There's a better Speedway set on that we will cover in part 3, which I have a lot more to say about. So this is kind of a baby version of the Victory Lap Raceway. Comes with that pit lane base plate, and it comes with that jack piece you can see in the bottom left corner that we talked about was in one of those service packs. And the big rig truck stop is arguably the best set of 1987, and I think it is my favorite set of 1987. They don't make city sets like this anymore. You get a straight road plate, a T junction, you get a tow truck, you get 2 tractor trailers. I wish they still made sets like that, and you got plenty of vehicles with much better details than what they had in the early and the mid 80s. You don't see phone booths like that anymore in the Highway Patrol set 6522. You don't see that anymore. And also you don't see ambulances with the Red Cross. Now you see them with the Star of Life. I own a plane that looks very similar to this turboprop. And this is probably my favorite garbage / recycling truck ever. I've always liked that. And I know a lot of people like the bicycle piece and the old motorbike piece because of this set, Cycle Fix It Shop, and also the motorbike shop that came out in 1984. This is a little bit of a smaller version of that on an 8x16 base plate. And this was one of the last sets for the classic space. You can see the monochromatic astronaut's torso. So that's classic space, and that's classic space, and that's classic space, and that's classic space, and that's classic space. I always like this terrestrial rover much better than those other small ones, because look at how much articulation is on there. Set 6883. And this is one of the most awkward cockpits I've ever seen, because the way they use that that straight edge dome piece right there. I don't like the look of that cockpit. But you can see this was for Futuron, because they had the diagonal zipper stripe and the blend between white and the other colors. And also this was, I think this was when they got away from the original style of helmet because of all the motorbikes they were doing at the time. And this is when they came out with Blacktron. So the Invader got remade as a gift with purchase. It's another weird cockpit for a Futuron set. This was a cool set. Look, that was on a plain light grey 32x32. You don't see that piece anymore. And then they came out. They made a neoclassic version of this set this year, which is probably my second favorite set of 2025. But this is the original from '87. And many consider this to be the last classic space set, the Polaris 1 Space Lab set 6972. And this was the first of the monorail sets, and probably my least favorite because it's not town, and it doesn't come with the switch track like what the Unitron monorail does. Although this does come with some cool domed pieces. And then we get into some of the Technic stuff. The Technic stuff never really interested me, but this interface cable Commodore, which used similar technology to the Technic Control Center, that always interested me. And then there's a second page here that only has a few things. Now, this World of Lego Toys is a book that I've seen online before. And I don't know what's in it, but I want to do more research about this because the cover shows a bunch of pieces on it. And among those is the original airport logo, which the torso from that airport is on my sig fig. Comes with the old 8-prong antenna, comes with a few Duplo pieces. There's a black Falcon flag. There's an original red motorbike. There's some spring-loaded Technic pieces. There's an old stringed winch. There's a Duplo train cab and a Duplo train chassis. There's a castle horse and a castle wall piece with the stone printing. The Black Falcon's flag. I think that's a minifigure torso with that's supposed to be for the post office because it's got the French horn on it. Just a lot of really cool pieces on the cover of that book. So yeah, I need to do more research about that book. See if anyone's new. Oh, Hoarder's here. Good to see you here, Hoarder. Yeah, we just went over all of the sets from 1987. So I'm gonna scroll back to pick out some of the ones that have interest for me. So we're gonna do a little bit of scrolling to go back to the sets that interested me. These houses, I would like to build a neighborhood in my city with those houses, if I could. Do a little bit more scrolling. I didn't know about Britannia Airways until seeing this year. I didn't know about the Universal building set theme until this year, which I'm guessing is a souped up version of the basic theme that they were doing all throughout the 80s. I wish that Lego still made the 90-degree crossings for their train sets. Also something I didn't point out is when I brushed over these Faberland sets. This schoolroom, set 3645, that has a green crocodile, and that, I believe his name is Clive. That is my favorite character from the Faberland theme, Clive Crocodile. I noted that there was a whole bunch of the curved stair pieces, which I always liked from Fabuland. What else did I notice? If you're subscribed to Alex Nunes, you'd know that this was his first set that he got as a child. Other things I noted, if we scroll down here through all these service packs, I grew up not knowing this was a battery box and using this in mocks at school. I built tanker trailers with this piece, not even knowing it was a battery box when I was 5 and 6 years old. That's my memory of that. And if we scroll down past more of these service packs, I wish that Lego still had a variety of the road base plates. They don't even make roads as base plates anymore. Really makes me mad. And if we scroll past more of those service packs, so glad that for the castle system they made sets that were independent of the main castle sets, that had walls you could expand on, because there were other sets from previous years that did that same thing. Forestman is my favorite castle faction, as I said, and Camouflaged Outpost is my second favorite Forestman set. My favorite is the Forestman's River Fortress that came out in 1989. I believe is when that came out. I think the Forest Hideout came out in 1988, and the Forest Hideout was reimagined as that gift with purchase from a couple years ago. But this was the first of the Forestmen. And this is probably my second favorite hospital that Lego ever made, because Lego came out with a hospital in 2006, which I like more. That was on a raised base plate, if anyone remembers that. And I'm so glad that Lego went hard into the racing themes, because the year after that, they came out with a souped up version of this set called the Victory Lap Raceway. This was the Motor Speedway. So I always appreciate the race sets from 1987. And I think this is my favorite set, as I said, the Big Rig Truck Stop from 1987. There's a lot of sets I like from this year, but out of everything from this year, Big Rig Truck Stop is probably my favorite. And I also mentioned that they don't make phone booths anymore, but I think there was that one Marvel polybag which was. Someone will have to let me know. And I said this is probably my favorite recycling / garbage truck they ever made. And also, if we come down here, so glad that they so glad that we still get Blacktron stuff. And I mentioned that the 2025 version of this Renegade is probably my second favorite set of the year. And despite how cool the monorails are, this is probably my least favorite of the monorail because it's not town and it doesn't come with the switch tracks. And I had absolutely nothing to say about the Technic. So we're going to scroll back to the camouflaged outpost to see out this stream. Hey, Liam, hope you had a good time on Cool Hun Luke Brick stream earlier. And hey, Johnny. Yeah. So Horda says, does that mean you don't have any sets from those themes? Which theme were you talking about, Horda? Which theme were you talking about? Oh wow, we got eight viewers. Yeah. So if there's any sets from this year that anyone wants me to go back and take a closer peek at, then let me know and we can scroll to them. Because I was going to cut this off at half an hour because I've now gone through all of the sets. The Universal building sets. No, I don't own any sets from that theme. I have no idea what that song is. Yeah. Well, if you want me to show any of those heaters, tell me the name and I'll scroll back to them, Johnny. I was going to cut this off at half an hour because I'm done, but if we've got eight viewers, we can keep this going just a little bit longer. And I want people to tell me, what do you think the golden age of the Lego group is? I think 1986 to 1994. I've seen other people say today. I've seen some people say 2016 to 2019, 2012 to 2016, 2008 to 2014. There's a lot of different eras. I gave a quick recap before you got here, Johnny. So rewind 5 minutes if you want to hear that. And because I only ever plan to go live for half an hour, that should be incentive for people to get here at the start of the stream. Otherwise, you're going to miss out on a whole bunch of stuff. So Liam's vote is 88 to 96. So what were the sets that you like about from 95 and 96 that we're not going to be covering in this stream series? Let me know, Liam. Horda says Golden Age of Lego 83 to 95 and the Golden Age of Star Wars 2012 to 2016. I think that's why I've seen some people saying 2012 to 2016. Alexandria says, I really only started collecting Lego 2 years ago, so this is all new to me, but I find it fascinating. And that's why I'm doing this stream series, because I want to share some of my favorite sets from what I think is the golden age of Lego, and it might help some people learn about new sets that they didn't otherwise know about. Well, you can request for me to go back and look at a set if you want me to, Johnny. Because if anyone wants to go onto Brickset right now and search the year 1987, they can tell me exactly what sets they want me to cover. Hey, Frankenfrog, good to see you here, buddy. We've already covered all of the sets from 1987, so if anyone wants to see the coverage, they should go back and rewatch the stream because otherwise we're going to be ending this stream soon, because I only ever plan to go live for half an hour, and we only extend the stream when we get enough people in the chat. That's why it pays attention. No, sorry, that's why it pays to get here at the start of the stream, 9 p.m. Eastern, almost every day of the week. When did Western come out? Western came out in 1996, and the Indians came out in 1997. So what does everyone think the golden age of Lego is? Hey RC, we're about to end this stream. Is there any sets from 1987 you want me to go back and see? Cover again? Because I've scrolling through all of the sets. Happy to take a closer look at any other set that people want me to take a look at, particularly if they missed. Oh, we just hit 10 viewers. Thank you very much, everyone. You know I agree with you, Hoarder. That came out. Those came out in 1993, and I think were sold until 1995. Okay, Johnny wants me to go to 0011-32. Okay. Let's scroll back up. I think I know what he's talking about. Is it this, Johnny? The Castle 2-for-1 bonus offer? Sorry. Hey, Owen, good to see you here, buddy. Well, the invite is in the jungle. If anyone wants to hop on my panel from the jungle, they can. So what specifically do you like about or is interesting about this to you, Johnny? So that set makes you feel funny. What about this set is funny, Johnny? Also, don't forget to leave a like on the stream to tell YouTube that people like to watch me. People saying hello. Is there any other sets from 1987 that people want me to take a closer look at again? I'm going to scroll back down to my favorite set of 1987. Going to go down to the Big Rig truck stop. Where's the Big Rig truck stop? There's the Big Rig truck stop. Johnny says, this set I played so hard with, play value through the roof. Yes, there was a lot of playability with these sets back in the day. I know you like Blacktron, and this was the first year that theme came out. Alexandria wants me to go to the hospital. There would be no inside pictures. So yeah, this is the emergency treatment center. So that was on a road base plate that had the angled driveway. And it had it had 3 of the white 2x2 tiles with the printed red cross on it. And 1987 was when all of the vehicles were still 4 studs wide. And kind of hidden at the back there, you can see a trash can underneath the carport for the ambulance. And this was another one of those sets that had the they had the 4x4 by 3 45-degree window frames, and those windows, you can just make it out in the picture. You can open them, and all of the blind details at the bottom of the windows, and even the ones that have the printed, and even the ones that have the red cross on those blinds, they were all printed. I remember building the police station from 2011 on, I think, my 10th birthday, and those blinds were stickers, not prints. Wait, is Dina here? Oh, hey Dina. Yeah, we got 10 viewers right now. So thank you very much. Yeah. Well, you know what? We've got enough people now where we could probably extend this out to an hour. I want to go through all these comments. So RC says now we are talking about that vintage Lego. Yeah. Because I'm happy to cover any sets that people want to talk about. They were great times, Hoarder. Which McDonald's drive-through, Frankenfrog? This is the year 1987. That set came out in 1999. RC says there was an Xmas movie called 8, but it's about Xmas in the 80s, and he gets the Blacktron Cruiser. I don't know about that movie. There were model team sets that came out in 1986, but there weren't any in 87. That's a good point. I didn't think about that. Order says the small castle sets were amazing as a kid. You walk into the store with absolutely no chance of getting a toy, but then you talk your mum into buying you a $3 set. Yes, because there were a lot of small sets back then. There was a better balance between small sets and the big sets in what I think is the golden age of Lego. What were other people saying? Well, we do 30-minute streams at a minimum, and then if we get a lot of viewers in, then we turn them into 1-hour streams, which is what we're doing right now. And that's why it pays for people to show up at the start of the stream, 9 p.m. Eastern almost every day, 2 a.m. In the UK almost every day, and 1 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time almost every day. What else? Yeah, when people are here, I will keep farming their watch time hours. I am unapologetic about that. And since I've been doing vertical streams, for the first time in 2 months, my watch time hours per week have gone up. Which was your first police station, RC? Well, I think 87 is better than 86. That is fake. That is fake news. I don't think they will. They will only make references to it, like what they did in the vending machine set. Hey Billy, good to see you here. They didn't they didn't make a police station in 1987. That was the previous year, 1986, which we covered on part 1 of the golden age of Lego. 2 weeks, no, a month ago now. Yeah, there's a lot of people saying that Animal Crossing, the way they designed those sets, is like how they designed the Fabuland sets. Johnny says, can you talk any sets that you have inside knowledge about? Did you have catalog for this year? Love looking at the catalog and dreaming. I don't have any insider information about any of the old sets because any information I know about them is I read from online forums or books. Well, we're not wizards. We're people. We're muggles. 6540. Let me try go to there. Lego 6540. That's you're talking about the Peer Police set. That came out in 1991. So we'll be covering that on, I think, part 6 of this series. Hoarder says, remember circling all the sets I wanted for Christmas in the catalogue the following year, just drew a circle on a piece of paper and laid the magazine in it. Yeah, because there were so many good sets from this era. Johnny says, had the old fire engine, had monster truck fat tires on it. Let me try see what you were talking about. Are you talking about this with the higher profile tires, Johnny? The Snorkel Squad. It's kind of a souped up version of the Snorkel Pumper, which came out in 1980, because it had the bigger tires and it had, I think, a slightly longer arm boom, and it actually has a roof on the cab, and it has a better build for the counterweight. And I think that's because that's where they store the hose. Yes, I also like the 4-stud wide vehicles, and I think I like them more than the 6 wide because you can fit them better in the palm of your hands. 6832. Let me see what that was. 6832. That's from Blacktron 2. That came out in 1991. So we'll also cover that on part 6 of the Golden Age. You want me to go over some of the shell sets, Johnny? Because there were some, but they weren't town sets. There were some basic building sets. Let me scroll back to them. They were above where these service packs are. But they did make. Wait, I think they. Yeah. No. Oh no, I was thinking of something else. I was confusing that Fabuland General Store for the Fabuland service station they came out with earlier. That's a real hodgepodge of stuff there. Actually, you know what? No, that service station does have a fuel pump right there. That general store. It does. But I want to scroll back to what you were talking about, the shell stuff, Johnny. Because there was a shell thing in here. If I can find it. Yes. There's petrol pumps and garage staff set 1470. And I can't remember if that 2x2 white brick with the Shell logo on it, I can't remember if that was printed or a sticker, but I know that the 1x6 white brick, that Shell name was a sticker. And I talked about this at the start of the stream. By 1987, they had gotten away from the stickered Shell torsos. They were printed shell torsos. And also, I just realized this helicopter set 1469 that has a sticker for shell on it. And so does this petrol tanker set 1468 that doesn't have a roof on its cab. And this race car, very primitive version of a Formula One car. Very, very primitive. Because you compare this to what they came out with for the Speed Champions theme this year. It's a night and day. Well, sorry, the difference is night and day. What else are people saying? Horda says, Briggs are still making videos. See more from Marty Graham than Jabo. Yeah, he's still making videos. He just went a while without uploading anything. But Mardi Gras Man 2-3 and Brick Trains these days are more consistent in their upload schedule than what Briggs is. Liam says, used to love getting the old Lego catalog and daydream about the sets. That's how I felt about the 2009, 2011, 2010 and 2011 catalogs. And I looked at the construction site in the 2009 catalog. I told my parents I wanted it, and for Christmas or birthday, they got it for me. And I think that's where I realized, I think that's set is where I fell in love with my favorite piece. And if anyone's watched other of my live streams, then you know what my favorite piece is. RC suggests 6675. Lego 6675. Oh, that was one of the Adventurer outdoor sets. So let me see if I can scroll to that. Because that was a town set. That was a town set. So it's probably near where the big rig truck stop was. Scrolling through all this junk takes a while, folks. Yeah. Oh, well, no, that's not what I was. That's not what I was thinking of. Oh, I know why. That's a 1988 set, not a 1987 set. When we get RC on for part 3 of the Golden Age, we're going to have to talk about that set, because RC and I were talking, and this might be. You could consider this an earlier version of the set you're talking about, RC. But we're going to try get RC on for part 3 because he thinks that 1988 was the first year he got sets from. Horda says the black trim set on shelves was down to $60. Need to buy a copy. I don't know what that set is. Yeah, 1987 was as good of a year for the Shell sets. 1986 had the Shell service station. 1988 had the Victory Lap Raceway. We covered the Shell service station on part 1, and we'll cover the Victory Lap Raceway in part 3. Those were much better sets. Yeah, I thought that was really cool too, because they used to make service packs like that. Now, Bricks and Pieces and Pick-a-Brick have replaced the old service packs. 6650. I don't know what that is. Let me see. I'm going to search 6650. And Johnny says it's not from that year. Ah, that's a 1981 set. Yeah, that's a nice one because it was a very compact van, and it was just big enough to fit the minifigure inside and a hose wheel on the side. Probably about the same amount as a Spider-Man fig, I would guess. Because those shell minifigures are more common than what some people think. Well, once upon a time, no, it wasn't once upon a time, because they had this weird thing for a long time, actually. Lego was afraid of printing company logos on torsos. They did it with Shell, they did it with Vestas, they did it with some other things. I think they did it with Ferrari as well. For a while, they weren't comfortable printing company company logos on torsos for whatever reasons. Ha! That's a good one. It's a Shellycopter. Ha 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 ha. Dina. Elsie says, almost done building my own take of set number 6479. It's the 19 rescue theme build. 6479. What was that? That's the rescue control center. Yeah, I remember that. That is factually incorrect. If anyone knows what my actual favorite color is, you can let me in the comments below. It's easier for me to do streams on my Mac than my HP. Horder says, I want new versions of old sets using newer parts. I think a retro revisited theme would pull with the numbers. Yes, it would, because of the Galaxy Explorer, the Blacktron Renegade, the Pirates of Barracuda Bay, the El Dorado Fortress, all of the other, all of the gift with purchases they've done. We covered the Big Rig truck stop from this year. I would love to see that as a retro revisited set. Right now, they do those sets in the Icons theme. So I have no doubt they're going to keep on doing that because they keep selling. Not sure I understand that comment, Alexandria. I am keeping up. I'm not showing the pictures of sets not from this year. The link to RC's channel will be in part 3 of the Golden Age of Lego. Oh, another update coming soon. When was the last time you uploaded a city update, RC? I'm going to go search the From Blocks to Mocks channel. When was the last time RC uploaded? You got 200 subscribers now. Congrats, RC. So you last uploaded 2 months ago. Bricksylvania Falls City Tour, September 2025. You want to see the camouflaged outpost again, Johnny? Yeah, we can go back to that. Because I already talked about earlier how the Forestmen is my favorite castle faction. This was the first year it came out. I like this set because it had a good blend of the rocks and the trees. The forest hideout, the Forestmen's, no, sorry, the forest hideout was just a straight up tree. The Forestman's River Fortress was a fortress with a little bit of tree excess in the middle of a river, and the Forestman's River Crossing was, I think, a tree on one side of the river and a rocky fort or a stone wall fort on the other side of the river. We'll cover those in future years. When we do part 3 with our scene, that's when we'll take a look at the Forest Hideout set. Exactly, that's part of the reason why I really like the Forestman. The Forest Woman wasn't in this set. I think the Forest Woman came from the Forestman's Crossing, I want to say. That's right, sand green is my favorite color, and sand blue is Macrobrix's favorite color. What's a translucent piece, Frog? Yeah, that's everything that people have said. Yeah, so so everyone that got here after we scrolled through all of the sets, thank you for extending this from a half-hour stream to an hour stream. I enjoy the interaction with the chat. So that's the only reason why I'm doing almost daily streams, and that's why I'm doing more streams than videos these days, and I've got lots of time for that during summer vacation. I think they came out at oh, you got me you got me stumped about that, RC. I think from my memory, if the Forestman's Crossing, well, if it came in the Forestman's Crossing, it might have come in the Forestman's River Fortress. But I think I'm right in saying it came in the Forestman's River Crossing. That was a 1990 set. The Black Seas Barracuda had the female pirate, and that came out in 1989, which we'll cover in part 4. They did use the same face, and they used very similar graphics for the boobs on that torso. Oh, okay, I understand now, Frog. 6071. Yeah, that's the Forestman's Crossing from 1990. Yeah. Yes, thanks, Hoarder. Everyone, don't forget to smash the like button to tell YouTube that you like watching my streams. Yeah. Yeah, so I enjoyed the banter with everyone in the chat, but if anyone wants to hear what I said while I was scrolling through all of these sets, you can go back and watch the first half hour of this stream. It's important that if people want to listen to what I actually said, to get here at the start of the stream, because there's no guaranteeing that I'll go past half an hour unless we get awesome people in the chat like what you were today. Because I only extend these streams after half an hour if we get enough people in the chat, which is like what we've got every time I've done one of these daily streams so far. Yeah. So yeah, so that was the year 1987, and some people in the chat said that part of the years I'll be covering is also what they consider in their golden age. Someone said 83 to 95. Someone said 88 to 96, so I'll have to remember that. But just remember, guys, it's important that you get here at the start of the stream to hear what I actually have to say. Remember, 9 p.m. Eastern almost every day of the week, 2 a.m. in the UK almost every day of the week, and 1 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time almost every day of the week. Anyway, thanks for watching this stream. It is appreciated. Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. I will be back to building sets from the backlog in my stream tomorrow. in 23 hours time. So I'll see you on that stream, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you for watching.